Who actually is the Greek god Hades?
Did he kidnap his wife? Well, the girls from Sticks and Bones are here to discuss it.
King Hades is the Greek god of the underworld, and he's known for entry and exit way into the underworld.
Because he's actually king of the underworld, he plays a pretty large role in Greek mythology. Why? Because he is brother to Zeus and Poseidon. He is one of the original six Olympian children of Kronos and Rhea. And because of that position and title, he's afforded many different things. And as one of the three kings, he got to marry the goddess of spring herself, Persephone, which has led us to probably one of the biggest questions asked.
The biggest question, did he actually kidnap his wife, Persephone? Well, King Hades technically had permission because Persephone's father is Zeus. Yes, you heard that
Yeah.
right. She's basically married to her uncle. Persephone is Zeus's daughter, and Hades had permission to marry her. So
Yeah.
whether or not he kidnapped her is going to be up for your interpretation of the myth.
Bit of a gray area, a lot of a gray area because Greek mythology, family trees are more like family bushes, but yeah, very, very interesting.
And this myth is also very reminiscent of how marriages were seen in the ancient world, in which the father had all the say. You were creating arranged marriages for power and money and wealth. It wasn't always about marrying for love. And therefore, if we look at it through an ancient lens, this is a perfect marriage because King Hades is a king, and a father can only ever dream that his daughter would be in power and married to a king, which makes her a queen.
But we also see at the other side of this mythological coin that Demeter got to really showcase her own power in this myth. And of course, we're talking about the hymn to Demeter. So you can go ahead and check that out on all of our many podcasts about King Hades over on Sticks and Bones podcast.
Did the ancients worship King Hades? This is a question we get a lot. What does his worship look like?
It's actually really hard to answer this because where so many individuals today want to say yes, he was worshipped because we see retellings such as Percy Jackson and how he's represented in Disney's Hercules, that there would be some sort of ancient cultic worship of him, right? But we really only see a few sites where he is worshipped, like the site of Ellis, but he would really only be given offerings at funerary rites to ensure that your deceased loved ones got into the underworld safely and okay.
If you are interested in worshiping Hades, though, one thing we do recommend is that you actually worship his wife, Persephone, which we do have evidence of cultic worship, the Eleusinian mysteries with her
Yes.
mother Demeter. You can also find our one of our favorite goddesses, Hecate, there as well. And we
Yes.
have many episodes on the Sticks and Bones podcast deep diving into the Eleusinian mysteries. It's something we celebrate at the temple here twice a year, and we do recommend the worship of his wife instead.
And if you want even more of a crazy, slippery slope, check out the scholarship on deciphering whether or not he was, in fact, part of the Eleusinian mysteries or if it was, in fact, a different god with the same name. And because it's such a gray area, especially at the site of Eleusis, does he, in fact, have his own sacred day as we see with other Greek gods?
So, unfortunately, I wish we can say we do have sacred days for King Hades because it would make it much easier to follow him in worship. But there is no sacred day for the king of the underworld unless you are dying. You would leave sacrifices, but that's really it. I know a lot of people are always asking us for more information and to elaborate on that, but there really is nothing else. The ancients did not worship Hades. Now that we've talked a little bit about who King Hades is, I think it's really important that we touch upon some of the misconceptions about this god because there are so many, and we'll be doing a multi-part series on this. But the first one is that we have to touch upon, is King Hades evil, and does he rule over hell, and is he synonymous with Christianity in any sort of the sense?
I want to personally pick a fight with the History Channel about this because I feel like this is where this massive
Oh, it
misconception
did.
comes about because of these like mythological episodes that they did like a few years ago where they paint Hades as this like crazy balding man who's like just like looking crazy eyed into the camera and really showcases him as this villain in mythology. Really, in mythology, he doesn't leave the underworld. He doesn't go upstairs really to the mortal realm except to snatch his wife. And it's really, bad because like with so many retellings today, Disney's Hercules, Percy Jackson, everything like that, he is painted as a villain and everything. And maybe that's simply just because he oversees the land of the dead as their ruler, but it's not the same thing as hell just because it's under the ground. It is not the same thing as the Christian concept of hell, which comes about centuries after ancient Greek and Roman religion. But very, very interesting. He's not evil. I have such a bone to pick about this.
I know, and you wouldn't think because, like we just said, it's the History Channel, but I have personally seen that episode because someone sent it to me. And the way they depict him, first of all, King Hades is known as being the unseen one, which I think I forgot to mention in the beginning.
Yeah.
We don't even technically know what he looks like. Like, there is some ancient art of him depicted with his wife, but he does not want to be seen because he is ruler over the land of the dead. He's the ruler of the underworld. He doesn't come up to the mortal realm. He's too busy letting people into the underworld and ruling over
Yeah.
there as a king. So, very interesting. And if you have some time, you should go look at how they depict him on the History Channel. It is
We got
terrible.
to overlay it because it is shocking.
They need to hire us for the History Channel.
And that is where one of my biggest vendettas against the History Channel. And speaking of other misconceptions, thank you, History Channel. Is he actually considered to be the god of death or a death god?
No. So anytime we're referring to King Hades as a death god would be never. The god one of the divine beings within the underworld, a daemones, Thanatos, is really who would be, and multiple others, depending on the death that you have, are considered death. King Hades does not bring death. He is simply ruler of the underworld, ruler over the land of the dead, alongside of his wife, Queen Persephone. But he doesn't bring death. You're not going to find him reaping souls. He's not showing up when you're dying. There are people to do that because remember, if we're talking about a hierarchy, he's a king. So why would he be found going and doing like what would be the work, the lesser work, where Daemones would be doing that?
Busy,
So
busy man.
if you're looking for death, you can look into Thanatos, but Thanatos also is not a god in that perspective. So I wouldn't refer to him as a death deity and anything to do with death related. He doesn't help with grief, none of that. Another misconception that we see a lot of the time in terms of modern day worship or connecting with King Hades is people using sigils. Is there any specific sigil in the ancient world or an ancient Greek religion that is associated with King Hades?
No, 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 no. No such thing really as sigils as like the modern occultic lens would kind of, say it is. We do have gods that have symbols, iconography, like we know certain things are tied to certain gods and everything, Persephone, pomegranate, Hades, all of that kind of stuff makes a lot of sense. But with this symbol, this sigil, this is actually a planetary symbol. It's for the planet Pluto. So this really only comes around during the Roman time for the Roman god Pluto. This is going to be, yes, the Roman counterpart to the Greek god Hades, but two different religions, two different gods, two different mythologies.
Worshipped in two different ways.
Correct.
And if you're interested in more, because we get a lot of questions about like, well, is Hades and Pluto the same? Like Dr. K just said, we did a whole entire episode on the difference between Greek and Roman gods. And sure, it might be an exact copy and paste, but they are not the same. And if you've been following us here on Sticks and Bones, you know names and titles in the ancient world when it comes to the gods and offerings and petitions is extremely important. They're epithets, right? So they cannot be the same. So that's why the sigil for Pluto is not associated with the Greek god of the underworld. We have no sigils associated with him. And
Mm-mm.
so really no iconography in that way where I would use to represent him whatsoever. Big misconception.
Yeah, really, really interesting because it's going to be more iconography, images, that kind of stuff. And I mean, if you've been here with Sticks and Bones for a while, you know to make sure that if he has a basket on his head, that's not him. That is going to be the Egyptian god Serapis, which comes about later on in Egyptian history. But very, very, confusing. It can be, but just be on the lookout for that. We see a lot of that. For more information on the Greek god Hades and, of course, the rest of the entire pantheon, along with ancient Greek religion, practices, and more from the Mediterranean world, go ahead and check out Sticks and Bones podcast. Don't forget to check out Sticks and Bones Temple Resource Center, where we have classes and lectures all about offerings, altars. We have a whole collegiate level course on Hecate, also oracles, more coming out soon. all of our many episodes on deep dives of the ancient Greek world on Patreon. We also read retellings over there. And if you're looking for more help, because hey, we all need a little extra help now and again, you can go ahead and check out Guidance Readings with High Priestess Chelsea, or getting extra deep dive research with me, Dr. Tenendra Kellenberger. But until next time, don't forget to like, subscribe, and comment. Tell all your friends about the ancient Greek gods because, yeah, Greek mythology slaps. But until next time, we'll see you soon.